In tonight's tutorial, we're going to look at the end of the chain. We're going to look at wrist action. Now, of course, a lot of our focus in the lessons is on the body movement and using the ground and transferring these forces through our body movement to the club. But if we're not able to adapt our release pattern to enable the transfer of these forces, then there's conflict in the system, and the body already recognises these conflicts before we even action. It knows the system, it knows the maps it's got to operate with, and if we've not got the map, then there's going to be conflict, and it's probably not going to allow us to make these changes that we're attempting to make through training and through practice with the body, because there's no outlet. So the arms and the wrists, if you like, they're the transmission. That is the conduit through to the golf club to action this release and transfer these forces for speed, but in a way that's going to help control the golf shot. We're going to look at how we can rotate this club face and deloft the face so we can get that compression and encourage the body, because once we start to feel these more kind of optimal release patterns that are going to actually strike the ball as we intend, compressing it with a deloft of the club face, rotating the face to square it, allowing us to move our path, if we like, more towards the outside, into out, if you like, for the draw, which also allows us then to do the opposite and swing left, because we start to recognise through these ranges of motion, we start to recognise the feel of it, and we can start to attune ourselves to it. We have to experience the motion to be able to learn how to regulate it. If we've never experienced it, then it's probably somewhere that we're not going to go. That space, those movement patterns are redundant. We have to experience it, and then we can start to attune ourselves to the variability, and that's when we start to develop skill with that motion. So we're going to look at delofting first. So how do we deloft a golf club? Well, we're going to do this. We're just going to deloft it first. This is a 7 iron. What I'm going to do though, is I'm going to do it without the club. Take your trail hand and let's deloft the golf club. So if that was our club face, for example, okay, now obviously there's normally loft, okay, but we're going to play it as, let's say it's just a neutral loft, like a putter if you like, okay, 3-4 degrees. Let's say it's 0 loft. How do we deloft it? How do we get that down? Well, we do this, okay. Now, just with your trail hand, how do I close that now? How do I rotate that? Because most people that I see day to day do this. Now, on an arc, that is opening and closing to some degree. Okay, and that's fine. But we want to explore all opportunities to use the wrist, all available movement, and then that enables us then to recruit what is required in that moment as necessary. And the body configures these patterns using all these components intuitively in response to your intention of the shot. But also we're going to recognise the intention of our movement, because we're going to recognise these patterns, so then we can repeat in an adaptive way. But there's going to be a general movement pattern that we're going to recognise for function. And we're going to recognise the value of these motions, up and down, side to side, and rotation, okay, in this sense, with the trail hand. So I'm just going to deal off the club, and I'm going to ask you now, how would you rotate the club face? Well, are you using this action? Because that's adding loft. I've got to be able to use my body a certain way to make now this, to orientate this hand. And that's okay. Okay, some people are able to really adapt through their body movement to facilitate the release here under these constraints. But often I don't see that, because the body movement required isn't either recognised to that player, isn't maybe possible, just it's not familiar to them, and that happens. And so what happens then is, of course, it goes left and you're adding loft, okay? The path can go left. The direction here, you can see the arc. It's going left. I'm adding loft. And dependent now, I'm adding loft, swinging left. And I'm adding loft, and I might not even be able to close the face, because closing the face, if we just de-loft and close the face, it's actually rotation this way. Think of the forearm here. We're actually rotating the forearm and the wrist anti-clockwise. Okay? If you think about it, opening is clockwise, closing is anti-clockwise. It's just we've got an extended trail wrist, but it's the same thing. So if I was to hold my hand here, neutral, everything's flat, and I said open and close, you'd probably do this. You wouldn't do this from your elbow. But that's what you're doing with your wrist if you think of opening and closing like this. So we've got to clarify in our mind some definition of these movements. So think of the elbow. We wouldn't do this. We wouldn't use external and internal rotation. There is some of this, by the way, of course. But what's opening and closing? If I said open, you'd probably do this. And close is this. Okay? It just feels different with an extended wrist. But it's the same action. Pronation, supination. So it's almost like a wax on, wax off. So this is now closing the face, and that's opening the face. When we're on an incline here to the golf ball, that's going to open and close. Now this is strange feeling potentially, but it's going to open up whole new possibilities with how you release the golf club. It's going to afford you an opportunity to swing more away from you, close the face, because we have to be able to create an arc to the right to be able to close the face, and we have to have a functional way of closing the face. So stick with me, guys, because I know this can be difficult to interpret across the screen. So hold your arm out straight, nice and flat with the wrist. Okay, golfing terminology, it's fine. Neutral. Just rotate. Forearm, palm up, forearm, palm down. That would be opening and closing. Yeah. Now extend that wrist. We're de-lofting the face. Now rotate the forearm. That's closing. Rotate the forearm down. So we rotate it anti-clockwise. Now rotate it clockwise. That's opening. Okay. But remember, it's going to feel so different with the swing. This is in isolation, but when we start to create a more dynamic motion with it, it's going to feel so different. Now, what's going to feel really different? Extend the wrist. Just feel that opening and closing. Anti-clockwise closes, clockwise opens. Now, so let's de-loft. And now let's close that club face. So you're keeping the hinge, if you like, in the wrist, keeping it extended, rotating it. Now, take your lead hand, don't lose this angle, take your lead hand and now match it, place it under. And that's going to feel now really strange. You've got your lead forearm pointing up, you've got your trail forearm pointing down, lead hand knuckles down, palm up. This is closed. Okay, very strange. When we rotate clockwise, keep the extension in the trail hand. Look at that. Now this is different. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the lead hand away and I'm going to swing back and I'm going to rotate this forearm and this palm up, but keep the hinge in the wrist. That's open. Now keeping, just for this exercise, keep the hinge in the wrist. So don't allow this to happen. Now let's swing down and now let's rotate that forearm and that palm down to the ground. It's almost like the wax on, wax off. We're just rotating. You can extend this elbow as well, let that extend, let the arm extend, but we're rotating this. It's not doing this. So we're rotating. And let the rotation continue. So notice now, the back of the hand, the knuckles are pointing towards you. Palms pointing down and away. You've rotated this forearm clockwise, as far as it'll kind of go now. Can't go any further. I've internally rotated, I've gone as far as I can. but I'm keeping the hinge in the wrist. Now take your lead hand, place it underneath, and notice how flexed this is. Okay. Now this is giving us a feeling of this is super closed and a really kind of delofted club, and we've really not held it off, but there's no real freewheel in this way, in this direction. We're going to allow that to happen as required, okay, but we're also feeling the opposite. So we're kind of feeling the two opposite ends of this movement spectrum, and then we can start to appreciate how we can maneuver ourselves in between this as required for the shot. So what we're going to do now is recognize that finish again. Deal off the face, swing it back, let this rotate, let your elbow, let everything just rotate as we did earlier. Let it rotate in the backswing. Now let it rotate in the downswing without flicking that wrist. Keep the wrist rigid for this exercise because we're just experiencing pronation, supination. And we're just going to rotate. And now I can let this rotate quick, anti-clockwise, as I'm swinging down. I can start it here if I like, just rotate it here. But notice the hinge in the wrist. That would be closing the face here in a golf swing. And as you can do it any way you like. As I come down, I can rotate it here more, rotate it here. I can let it rotate more and more and more as I swing through. Now put your lead hand on, and we're going to start with a little bit, just like in a golf swing. Look, hands slightly forward, little bit of shaft lean, bit of deloft already. Now we're going to swing back, and we're going to let everything open up. So my wrist, you can see it's hinging, there's extension here, palms up, forearms rotating. If you like, just do it with your trail hand. Palm up, forearm up, elbows bending, free from the shoulder, we're not trying to stay connected, none of that towel kind of stuff, and connection doesn't exist in a golf swing. Here, now take your lead hand, pop it on. Now, let's feel what it's like to rotate. As we swing down, we're going to rotate, and we're going to just rotate this to the ground. I.e., that trail hand is just going to point to the floor. So now it's pointing to the ground before I even get anywhere near where the ball would be. It's toe deep divot stuff, this, guys. For you guys who've watched my other videos and followed me for a long time, this is what the toe deep divot drill does, but I'm going into a little bit more in more of the specifics, so you can do this at home. So we can recognise movement with or without the golf club. It's super powerful to recognise movement without the golf club and use simulation, and then when you put the club in and you experience it with the club, you can really appreciate now what the club's offering, how it feels with the club, and then the potential with the club. And then when you bring the ball in and play some shots, there's some real connectivity going on, and you are joining the dots, and you're going to play around with it. It's the feedback loops are all over the place, and it's stimulating the system. You're playing around with your movement, and that's the important thing. We're learning how to use our body to swing a golf club. That's what we're doing. We're learning how to use our body. So now we're rotating down to the ground, and let this rotate, let this continue for this exercise. It's rolling. It's going to feel like it's rolling. So on the way through now, the lead hand, the knuckles of the lead hand are pointing down. That lead forearms up, palms up. Right hand's done the opposite. As for me, right-handed trail hand. Look at that. It's going to be different, guys, when we bring the body action in. It's going to be totally different. It's not going to look like this. We're not manipulating. This is not a prescribed motion. This is how we have to swing. It's not a method. We're just exploring often what is the opposite of what I see day in, day out, so we can start to find the middle ground, and then we can start to adapt either way, depending on what the shot requires. Sometimes you need more of this, sometimes you need more of this, but you need the opportunity, you need the ability, you need the repertoire to be able to do it. We've got an upcoming golf school in about 4 weeks' time. It's in October, and it's at West Herts Golf Club. It's a 3-day golf school. Normally 2 days. This is an extended golf school. 3 days on the 14th, 15th and 16th of October. Only 6 places. Follow the link in the description, and we look forward to seeing you there. So with the golf club, okay, let's just take our trail hand. let's just swing back. So let's give ourselves a bit of deloft already. Okay, like we would at a dress. Now let's swing back and rotate the forearm, rotate the hand, so it's pointing up. Keep it there, put the club in, feel what it's like. Okay. Now what we're going to do, from there, without the club, we're going to swing now, halfway down before we get to the golf ball, swinging down, pointing now, rotate this down to the ground. Now bring the club back in. So look, I've stopped halfway down, I'm pointing my palm down to the floor, put the club in. Obviously left hand's on there, make sure your left hand's in the right place relative to the club head, so it's not skewed. Feel that trail hand, pointing down to the floor, put it in. Take that lead hand and club away. Now, from there, rotate it anti-clockwise. So we're not swinging through to the target. There is some motion, of course, to the target, but it's more, I'm just extending the arm, I'm just letting the swing, I'm letting my arm extend down, and I'm rotating it anti-clockwise. Okay, this is going to feel strange now. It's pointing down to the floor. Now I'm going to put the club in. It's going to be so late. Now I'm going to carry on the way through. It's pointing to the floor. I've rotated my trail hand all the way through. Now, put the club in. I've still got this hinge, if you like, in the wrist. So the club is actually up in terms of it's still pretty vertical, just for this exercise. So we're feeling this journey. And that's a really strange, probably feeling here. The club is up. Not vertical, but it's dependent on how much you're rotating the forearm and the wrist. But the club is rotating, okay? Strange feeling. Let's go to that follow through. Open on the backswing. Forearm hand, close on the way down, point that palm down to the ground where the ball would be, or before the golf ball, it should be pointing to the floor, and let it follow through. Now it's pointing away from me down to the ground. Put the club in, and from here now, I want you to swing back and through to that same place. And again, and freewheel it on the way back, let it open. Explore the motion. You're in control of regulating this. And you can feel the downward aspect of this. You can feel the rotation, the closure of the face, the roll of the shaft, if you like. But it's rolled in a lagged state. Most people lose the lag in an effort to square the face. And that adds loft as you're losing it. And you're also now bringing the low point potentially further back before the ball. Because where you're starting to release, in terms of where this golf club is relative to you and the ball, and when you start to release, that's going to heavily influence where the low point, the bottoming out of the swing is. In an effort to close the face, and obviously that's duff shots, thin shots, adding loft, path issues, could be going left by the time you get to the golf ball, because very quickly as you start to throw the club out now, it's swinging out. By the time it gets down here, it's swinging left by the time you get to the golf ball. While this is lagged, it's travelling out away from you to the right. If you're rotating, it's going to encourage your body movement. It's going to encourage your body to rotate, because you have to. Under the demands of how you're orchestrating your movement here, the golf club is behind you. It's asking your body to rotate. So what you're working on with your body movement is encouraged to happen. This is why we're just focusing on a bit of release work first here, to encourage these good body actions and a good use of the ground and a good rotation of the body to use the levers in a more functional way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do two movements. We're going to place the club down. This is going to be a strange one for you. We're going to start here. I'm going to swing now my trail arm back and I'm going to rotate it clockwise. And I'm going to cock the wrist and I'm going to feel this backswing. What I'm going to do now with the lead hand is I'm going to add the deloft. So now I'm flexing the wrist. If you're not sure about this, take your hand here, right hand, deloft the face, and now take your lead hand and place it there. And feel that deloft. Okay, so you can feel the deloft of the club here. That's delofting. With your lead hand, what would rotation feel like with the lead hand? Well, it's anti-clockwise rotation. That's closing the face. With a lagged club head, because it's behind the hands. It's now behind my hand. So I can rotate this face while it's lagged. I'm giving my body the opportunity now to have a lagged club and square the face up while it's behind the motion of the body, which is what we want if we're lagging the golf club. We've got to be able to rotate this face while it's lagging behind the pivot to square it up for impact. It's got to square up before impact. So I know we're covering some real detail here, guys, but it's just movement at the end of the day. So, trail hand. Give yourself a little bit of shaft lead, bit of a deloft. Now, left hand, for me, lead hand, it's the same. Now I'm going to swing back and I'm going to let my trail arm rotate. Not taking the left hand with it, leaving that here. So I'm letting the forearm rotate, palm up. What I'm going to do now with my lead is I'm going to keep that flexion in the wrist. I'm going to keep that deloft and I'm going to rotate this anti-clockwise. So this is rotated clockwise, this is going to rotate anti-clockwise. Okay, don't keep the arm straight. Let it bend, let it flex at the elbow, let the forearm rotate to the sky. Lead wrist, lead wrist, you could, and lead hand up. And still in flexion. So, opened up here, rotated and closed here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to swing this hand down, as if I was striking a golf ball, to meet the left, to meet my lead. And just make a little clap, a little slap. So this hand is flexed, it's pointing at me, pointing up and at me, toward in this direction. I'm taking my trail hand, I'm swinging it back and opening it up, i.e. rotating clockwise, and now I'm swinging down, I'm going to close it and slap this hand. So I can feel what it's like to close this club face while it's lagging and I'm swinging. Okay, so it's giving our body an experience of the journey, and this is highly articulate movement. Okay, this is very, very, if you like, technical, but it's not, it's just movement. It's just being a bit more specific with how you're moving, but I'll just recognising your potential movement. Because what's going to happen when you put a club in, okay, is something different. Now, we're going to educate this trail hand. We're going to bring in the deloft. We're going to rotate this forearm and wrist so the both knuckles are down. So my golf club's it's way out in front of me. Now you might think, well, that's not a golf swing. You're not going to golf ball like that. Yeah, but in a golf swing, you're going to be rotating. Your right arm's going to be attached to the club and you're going to be rotating, which is going to swing this thing violently left, as in for a right-hander, violently inside to the left for me. Okay, obviously to the right for a left-hander. So you don't have to worry about your pivot. The more we allow this golf club to travel away, the more it's inviting the body to rotate and swing it back inside. It's when we swing it with the club inside, then we've got issues. So I'm going to swing this golf club over there. I've rotated it. Now I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to swing it back. From here, deloft it, swing it back, so now it's all opened up. Okay, palms pointing up, forearms pointing up. Now I'm going to swing down and rotate it and meet this club. So I've got to rotate it all the way. Don't have to grip it firm, I can just let it meet the club. And then when I feel comfortable, take my grip on it in this follow through position here, this form here, and I'm going to swing back and through. I can really feel this rotation about the shaft. I can really feel it whilst it's lagged. It's going to be more restricted, but your arms are going to do the job. When you go to a golf ball now, I don't want you to try and replicate this, guys. You're going to feel a difference. You're going to feel something different when you set up now and swing. I can feel that already. A version of. I can sense it. Maybe not the exact thing, because that was more deliberate here. That's fine. That's learning some patterns. When it's dynamic and it becomes more of a blur, there's going to be certain sensations that you recognise. But just by hitting shots, you're going to appreciate what is actually going on. And as I now start to let my body rotate a little bit, I start to get freed up a bit with it. I'm allowing this action to happen. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold my finish. And it's very different. As opposed to this. Now, this is only for this exercise. Because in a golf swing, you're going to get a blend. You're going to get a mixture of everything. It's not just going to be specifically this movement. You're not going to feel this motion explicitly. You're going to feel a version of it. You're going to feel other movements taking place. So what we've actually done sensory-wise is we've put neon lights on this end of the body and bells and whistles. Your brain is recognising this part of the map, and motion becomes much more recognisable, and we can start to let it go. So you're recognising not only what we've just been doing, but you're recognising other movements as well now that potentially were there before that may be good, okay, and wanted, or maybe not wanted. But you're going to recognise them. That's all this is. It's just awareness of movement through exploring this, because the other movements are going to be now recognisable because you can differentiate. I can recognise this happening because I've experienced the opposite. So I can start to let myself just freewheel it a bit, and I can start to feel myself close the face. I'm going to try and play more of a draw, and I'm going to really let this face rotate before I get to the golf ball. But notice I'm not letting it swing past my hands to do it. My hands are still travelling. You can see here, look, the club's behind the hands, but it's rotating. That club head is now pointing to the ground. But look where my hands are relative to the club head and the ball. But that club head's pointing down, and I can let this carry on rotating now, and the club face is pointing down to the ground. And yes, it is going to pass the hands at some point. Of course it is. And the lead wrist is going to extend. I'm not saying it stays in flexion, we're not holding this thing off. We're letting this thing go, but we're letting ourselves roll the shaft. Now we're going to play for that big curve, we're going to play for a draw. And let that face rotate. Because we're just exploring, this is just experimental, guys. And then you can start to bring in a bit more of a body movement, rotating. If you saw my tutorial from last Sunday, using the eyes for rotation along the target line, particularly on the way through, and then following round up, and now looking back at the ball, maintaining this form, this rotation here with the body, looking back at the ball, now looking to the target, back to the ball, recognising where you are with the lead hip, the pelvis rotation, the feeling through the feet. You can start to blend now the pivot action of the body to this release. Start to really add some rotation in there. And what we're doing now with what we're exploring here is we're facilitating the function of the pivot, and everything can start to organise itself in a much more compliant way. And freewheel it. Just playing some half, three-quarter swings here. But I want you to have some fun with it. Explore, play around. Just exploring something different. It's not the way, it's just a different way. And it's just leading you into now an opportunity for more exploration. And make your time on the range so creative. Playing, getting used to how this spins the ball, controls the ball flight, giving you an opportunity to aim more to the right or to the left. Start, guys, I would say half swing, nice smooth tempo so you can feel it. I've got a 7-iron just hitting three-quarter shots. Might only be hitting it, say 100 yards, 120 yards maybe 80 yards at a level you can feel it. And get a strike and then start to build it up and build the speed and start to recognise where your pivot starts to kick in. So you're not having to make big long swings to get the power. You can still make a short swing, but you can start to rotate, and now you've got the ability to rotate, the club's lagging, you can use your pivot for speed. So you're tapping into these functional movements, more efficiency, easier swing, more control. Who doesn't want that?